Hi there. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to use the wrap function of jQuery. So the purpose of this wrap function is to wrap the HTML element around another HTML element. So to give you an example, let me take you to the HTML document. So I hope you must be aware of the HTML document. It starts with HTML tag and ends with /HTML, and it has two sections called as the head and the body, and head is the section called as title. So let's say in the body, if you have a paragraph right here, which is which contains some text like this is a new paragraph, and what I need to do is I need to wrap around a div to this paragraph like this, and I need to do it dynamically so that the structure becomes something like this. We have a paragraph and we have a div. Now why would somebody do this, if you ask? So sometimes while you are creating a web project or any other thing that involves jQuery, and you want to do some dynamic manipulation in which you want to add some div on top of some other div or another HTML element, you need to use jQuery. So to use this jQuery, all you need to do is go to the head section and then go to the Google here right now, and inside type in the jQuery CDN Google. Once you go there, you'll find the Google hosted libraries. So from there you can pick up the jQuery library. I take this script src as 1.11.1 and copy it to the head section of my HTML document. So now the jQuery has been included in my HTML document. Now let us remove the div part of this so that we can wrap this paragraph into the div tag. And before that, we can do some more interesting stuff. For example, I'll add some kind of style to this div. So I'll use a style tag and close it by the /style tag. And inside that, I would write some CSS. So for example, the div that I want to add should have the let's say color of the font as red. So when I wrap the paragraph with this div, all is going to happen is that this paragraph text color would be changed to the red. So before I start coding, let me take you to the documentation. There are two ways in which you can wrap an element. The first is passing the wrapping element to the wrap function on the HTML tag that you're going to call this function upon, or you can pass a function which returns some kind of HTML and it will be wrapped around the element on which you are calling this function. So we are going to see both the cases, but first let us start with a simple one. For example, wrapping a div around the paragraph. So normally people do some kind of mistake when they code this function, and when it doesn't work they are not able to understand where the problem is. So I'll just explain you that scenario also. Now to write the code, all I need to do is add the script tag and close it using the angular bracket, and my editor automatically adds the /script tag. So if your editor doesn't do that, you will need to write it on your own. Now to write the query, to write the jQuery function, you need to use a symbol called as the dollar, which takes the document object, and when the document is loaded, which is denoted by the ready function, it calls a function where our processing will happen, and this function has a body denoted by these curly braces, and we're going to just close this by putting a semicolon. So this is the basic structure of jQuery function calling when it's when the document is ready. So I'm not going to explain much about it. You can watch other jQuery tutorials of mine to get a hang of what this does. So inside this function, I'm going to add the inside this function, I'm going to add the code for wrapping the p tags with the div. Before that, let me show you how it looks like, the whole document that we have created right now. So we have created a paragraph here and we have given it a text called as this is a new paragraph, and as you can see that it is black in color. So what we're going to do is wrap it with div, and the color of this paragraph will automatically become to red. Let us see how it works. So I'm going to search the document for all the paragraph element, and then I'm going to call the function called as wrap, and I'm going to pass a argument called as div. And here's the mistake that I'm making deliberately, so you'll understand what's wrong with it. So normally you would think that the p is now wrapped by the div. Let us check it out whether it happens after saving this. Unfortunately, no. Let us check out the source code. So this has not been wrapped. The reason is you cannot pass div like this. You will have to use the actual tag semantics to do that, and the way to do that correctly is to give it a angular bracket and use a slash so that it identifies that it is being passed a div tag and not a div string. You can also do it like this, just remove the slash and add another closing tag called as slash div. Save it and run and check out if it is all right. So this was our previous source. Can you see that now this paragraph is red in color? That means it has been successfully wrapped with the div. Let's check out the source code by refreshing this. So you can see that there is no div still here, but actually this has become red. So you cannot see the dynamically added objects in the source code. You need to do a right click on the Chrome browser. This is a Chrome browser, and do an inspect element. And when you do that, you will find that it is now surrounded by the div. You will not see it in the source code here. So that's how you wrap a div around the HTML tag. You can also wrap a paragraph around this, or make it a hyperlink, or do anything that you want using this function. So this is how we saw that we could wrap around a div around any paragraph element. What if we want to do some dynamic coding inside it and just not pass a string? To do that, if you remember, there was second way of passing a function. So instead of just wrapping it with the element, I'm going to pass it a string which will wrap around the div. So to do that, I'll just remove this, and inside that I would use a thing called its function. And this function will return the value. So for example, I want to just add this div once again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do return, and I'm going to type in, for example, a div, and I'm going to add some kind of text, let's say some string. This is a text, and I'm going to do a slash div here inside the double quotes. So hopefully this paragraph will be wrapped by the div, and there would be a text added, and it will be ended with a div. Let's see whether it works or not, like this. So as you can see that the text has been added, and the paragraph text still remains the red, so that it means our function has worked very successfully. If you check out the inspect element, you can see that there's a text added to this div, and this paragraph tag is inside the div. You can just close it, this goes off, and the color is red because of the CSS that we have put here. if you remember on the top here. So that's how you use the wrap function, by wrapping an element in another element, or using a function to provide some kind of a operation where you can do some kind of text manipulation and return a string that is dynamically manipulated rather than just passing in the elements, static elements in a string. So I hope the concept of the wrap function was clear. It is very useful when you want to add certain properties to some paragraph dynamically or any other tag dynamically. Then you can just use this function to first select the element by either its class or ID attribute, or using the HTML tag, and just wrap around the functions. Thank you.